And now, the best 60-ish seconds of your week. They say that today is the best day in college basketball as March Madness reaches its crescendo and the Final Four descend upon Minneapolis, Minnesota for the semifinals, which a lot of basketball experts say is actually a better set of games than Monday night's final. You've got UVA, the last remaining #1 seed, and last year I watched with absolute amazement as they made history, losing for the first time to a number 16 seed. They not only lost, they got systematically annihilated by UMBC, who had played Central Penn College earlier in the season. Just think about that. But UVA takes on Auburn, a very contrasting stylistic play for the two squads there. And then Michigan State versus Texas Tech in the nightcap. It's going to be very, very interesting to see who goes on to Monday night's championship game. My beloved Villanova Wildcats are out for this year, but until Monday night, they're still the defending national champions. So on to other news and the rest of March Madness as yet another Democrat jumps into the Democratic race for president. Congressman Tim Ryan, whose district borders Pennsylvania to his east and our west, the Youngstown area, who has been cast as a centrist Democrat through most of his career, now says he's a progressive since he's running for president. He's the guy that was going to take on Nancy Pelosi not that long ago. So he's not quite so far to the left as some of the others. The two other folks in there, John Delaney from Maryland, former congressman, has also cast himself as a centrist, but now seems to be marching ever closer to the left side of the cliff. This progressive stuff in the Democratic Party ultimately is really hurting their chances. Howard Schultz weighed in on that this week. He systematically debunked socialism, said what a bad idea it was for them. A lot of Democrats are worried that his potential independent candidacy could hurt them in the November elections in 2020, actually costing them the presidency. What they ought to be doing is thinking about his message, which is left of center, but not as nutty as the stuff that Bernie Sanders is putting forth. That ultimately isn't where the American people are. Could hurt them very, very badly. And of course, Joe Biden. Watching the Democrats eat their own is somewhat interesting, but it's fascinating to see him apologizing for so many things he's done over the years, including his comments about the hearings on Justice Clarence Thomas, where he said the white man's culture. Isn't Clarence Thomas African American and the only member of the court that is? I just don't understand any of this stuff that you've got to now do to placate the far left of the Democratic Party. Enough of that. Let's talk about NATO for just a second and its 70th anniversary. And you might remember that President Trump had demanded that the NATO nations pay their fair share. And many on the left said, oh, this is going to destroy NATO. It's going to upset the world order, et cetera, et cetera. What's happening? The head of NATO says it's working. And now we're talking about nations like Brazil, President Bolsonaro and President Trump talking about the possibility of them actually becoming members of NATO in the future. NATO's got its troubles, any alliance does, but it's worth preserving. It's done a good job for 70 years, and they celebrate their birthday. We don't have time today to get into the 5G competition and China and all those things. They're yet to come, along with a champion of the NCAA and the continuing of Major League Baseball and all the things that make spring so exciting and so beautiful. Hope you have a great weekend, because for now, that is the best 60-ish seconds of your week.